since we're talking about personal protective equipment, we're talking about these challenging times, we're talking about the outbreak of the pandemic, which I think we're all sort of grappling with at so many different levels. And I think it won't be wrong to say that it is for surely one of the worst or the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression of 1930s. I mean, if you look at 2020, some of the biggest companies have filed for bankruptcy. Millions of small businesses have been shut down permanently.
Absolutely.
Jobs have been wiped out, salaries slashed and so on and so forth. I want to know, in such a scenario, Fine Hygienic Holding have beaten all odds and they have grown, from strength to strength. Now, many would say that, this is by the virtue of you being in the wellness industry. That's because you're in the business of selling hygienic paper products. Would you really agree? And if not, I also want to know, what are the kind of challenges that you faced when you were scaling, your product offerings?
There's a small amount of truth to that. I mean, we're in hygienic products that are also consumables that you're not going to stop using. So that gave us a foundation, as opposed to, for example, having a hotel. Where you saw the business just collapse. So there's some truth to it, but many of our competitors have not done well. So it's not an automatic.
Yes.
I think the biggest thing is we had a discussion. I called a virologist friend of mine in January, and I said, none of the politics, none of the, no positioning. What's this coronavirus thing? And he told me a couple of facts. He said, fact number one, I've already researched it. This virus loves the human respiratory tract at a factor of 10 times more than SARS. It adores the human respiratory tract.
Yeah.
So its attachment rate is about 10x.
Wow.
This means this thing is going worldwide.
Worldwide, absolutely.
And he said the second thing is if you tell me 50,000 Chinese citizens in Wuhan have got the disease, it's airborne. You don't have 50,000 people picking this up off of doorknobs. This is airborne. He said, so if it's airborne and it's respiratory, the number one thing to do is to wear a mask because you have to protect your nose and mouth. He said, it's not washing your hands. That's important, but that's not number one. And this was in the time when everybody was saying masks aren't needed and just wash your hands.
Yeah, which is contrary to the initial belief,
And so I listened to this gentleman and I said, he knows what he's talking about. And I said, we're launching masks. And that decision was in January. We were in the market by the first week of Feb. We were way ahead of everyone else. And people thought I was crazy. Even in this building, I told all my people on Feb 1, you have to wear a mask. And he said, well, nobody else is doing, why? And I said, don't come if you don't wear a mask. We were way ahead of the game, and because we believed it was going to be a pandemic, we planned. And so I started ordering raw materials, stockpiling. We anticipated shutdowns of global shipping. We anticipated the shutdown of the airlines. We saw that 2 months before it happened. And so by the time the real lockdowns began, the pandemic hit full stride in the region, we were stockpiled, we were ready, we were masked up. And we've had a much lower infection rate in our company than any company comparably to our size, because we took the exceptional steps. Everyone got a high quality mask. We gave everybody masks for free from day one. We sterilized the offices every 2 hours. I mean, we're really on top of it. And so as a result, we were able to ride through some of the crisis periods, the shutdowns of the border, the shutdown of global shipping lines, the shutdown of air deliveries. Those types of things didn't impact us because we were ready.
Wow. This ability to having a foresight and then, taking things also seriously, not just, leaving things in anticipation, and also this quick move to the market and making quick decisions. I think other companies should sort of, take a note from this, because I think these are the things which are sort of integral, especially in times like these, and they can, help keep the business afloat.
Absolutely. I think the big thing people need to do is when you see these things brewing, is you don't just read the newspaper, you call experts.
Yeah.
Because the whole mask thing was very political.
Yeah.
It's still political. You still have Americans arguing and making it political, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, do you wear a mask? So forget the politics. Yeah. What's the right thing to do? What's the data show? And by talking to experts, you say, yes, it's airborne, it's respiratory, we need to use a mask. It's a simple ABC calculation.
Absolutely, I completely agree. It's political, people believe there's a conspiracy theory, and all of that is happening. But the reality of the situation is that people are infected. People are, it is affecting people's health. They're being hospitalized, they're being treated, so on and so forth, right? Okay, now since we're talking about the outbreak of pandemic, now, in the situation when working from home has become a norm, I want to know, how do you keep the company culture alive? Since social distancing is a norm, working from home is a norm, working from anywhere is a norm, how do you keep the company culture alive, and how do you ensure that the employees stay motivated?
Well, this is a family. FHH is a family, so we're no different than any other family. When you're apart and separated, you have to communicate. That's the name of the game. How does a husband and wife that are separated on split family keep their marriage together? Through communication. And it's not just looking at pictures and gazing at an old email. You have to talk to them. So here's what we do. I talk to my organization almost every single day. Now, that can be on the business. If I don't have any business news or business things to talk that day, I'll send them something motivational or a joke or something to make them laugh. It can be anything. I have like a storage of those things ready to go in the event that there's not a specific business topic of the day, because often it's direction. Here's what we need to work on. Here's what we have to focus on. Here are the key priorities of the company. So we keep that alive. The second thing that we do is not only written, but verbal. We have every week, we have a coffee with the CEO where everybody joins virtually and I talk about the business, and then we do a Q&A. I've now started to bring in, for inspiration and for teaching more about perseverance and resilience, I've been bringing in old friend Olympic medalists, Olympic gold medalists, who I'm calling in favors and saying, I want you to talk to my organization. And so yesterday we had an Olympic medalist from Jamaica talking, who's run with Usain Bolt on the relays and set the world record. He was talking about what does it take to win a gold medal in the Olympics and how you can use that in business. And then my people do a Q&A on the, typing in the chat room. And then we go through it, and it was an hour and a half of me talking, but mainly this Jamaican Olympian speaking to my organization.